It is time to do Kapitel 11, beginning Kapitel 11, which is comparatives and superlatives. So let's get into it. Was ist kälter, meaning what is colder, is my question for you. 15 Grad is depicted here, 15 Grad, which is 15 degrees Celsius, or maybe 0 Grad, 0 degrees Celsius, which is of course 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty cold. I'm not sure, maybe this picture is a little colder than that. But that's how it feels to me. 0 Grad, 0 degrees, versus 15 degrees, 15 Grad. The question is, was ist kälter? Was ist kälter? You can say, 15 Grad ist kalt, aber 0 Grad ist kälter als 15 Grad. 15 degrees is cold, but 0 degrees is colder than 15 degrees. Kälter als. So you see, kalt has turned into kälter. So going from the regular adjective to the comparative adjectives. So cold, colder, kalt, kälter. We can look at some more examples. Was ist wärmer? We have 29 Grad, or maybe 35 Grad. Was ist wärmer? What is warmer? 29 Grad ist warm, aber 35 Grad ist wärmer als 29 Grad. So we go from warm, that's the normal adjective, warm, but then wärmer is the comparative, saying warmer. Wo ist es wärmer? Where is it warmer? Auf Hawaii oder in Schweden? Wo ist es wärmer? Auf Hawaii oder in Schweden? Auf Hawaii ist es wärmer als in Schweden. So on Hawaii is it, as in it is, on Hawaii it is warmer than in Sweden. Wärmer als. So we go from warm to wärmer. Wo ist es kälter? In Apfeltal oder in Alaska? That's the question for you. Where is it colder? Wo ist es kälter? In Alaska ist es kälter als in Apfeltal. In Alaska, it is colder than in Apple Valley. Kälter als. What about this one? Welche Stadt ist größer? Groß meaning large, or maybe also great in some contexts, and then larger, größer. So, Berlin hat 3,7 Millionen Einwohner. Berlin has 3.7 million residents, Einwohner, residents. Bremen hat 547.000 Einwohner. Bremen has 547,000 residents. So, welche Stadt ist größer? Berlin ist größer als Bremen. Berlin is larger than Bremen. Yeah. So, wer ist schneller? Who is faster? Die Schildkröte oder der Tiger? So, der Tiger ist schneller als die Schildkröte. Schneller. So, fast ist schnell, and then faster, schneller. Welcher Campus ist schöner? Which campus is more beautiful? Cal Poly Pomona, it's pretty beautiful. What about Harvard? I may have chosen these photos to lead you to a certain answer. Cal Poly Pomona ist schöner als Harvard. Yeah, Harvard is also beautiful. But for the moment, we're going to say Cal Poly Pomona is more beautiful than Harvard. So more beautiful, schöner, and then als is than. So, welcher Film ist interessanter? Which film is more interesting? Interessant, meaning more interesting. The Joker 2019 oder Pulp Fiction 1994. Welcher Film ist interessanter? This is, of course, very subjective. And then you just put whichever one. Der Joker ist interessanter als Pulp Fiction, or maybe the other way around. So, interessant plus the ER, and then als meaning than, comparative. So here we compare the forms. Let's compare the comparative forms. So warm is the normal adjective, warm, warm. But then if we want to make a comparative out of that, we say wärmer. So just like in English, we add the ER, but if it's possible, then this umlaut appears as well. We'll look at more of those, and the rule will come up in a moment. So kalt becomes kälter, same formula. So cold, colder, we add the ER just like in English, and then we have an umlaut appearing over that A as well. So kalt with a A sound, and then kälter with an E sound. A, so changing the sound of that vowel. Groß, meaning large or great, and then größer is then with that suffix er, just like in English, larger, and then we also have an umlaut appearing, groß with a O sound, and then ö, größer with the Ö sound. Schnell, meaning fast, and then schneller, faster, and you can't put an umlaut on an E in German, that doesn't exist, so just the ER, nothing else. Schön, meaning beautiful, and then schöner, it already has an umlaut, so nothing to do there, but we get that suffix just like English. And you'll notice that beautiful is a lot of syllables in English, and we switch over to the more plus adjective construction, but we'll see later that German does not do that, so don't worry about that too much. And then interessant is interesting. Yeah, interessanter. So we wouldn't say interestinger in English. We would say more interesting, because if it gets over 2 syllables, we switch over to the more construction. But in German, it's all one type of construction. It doesn't matter how many syllables the word is. You still just add the ER to the end and sometimes an umlaut. Okay, so add an ER to the end, regardless of how many syllables the word has. Schnell, schneller. Interessant, interessanter. More interesting, as in interestinger. And then if the word is 1 syllable and it can phonetically take an umlaut, it almost always does. So warm, wärmer, warm, warmer. Oft, öfter, meaning often, more often. Groß, größer, large, larger, or great, greater. And then jung, jünger, young, younger. Kurz, kürzer, short, shorter. Lang, länger, long, longer. So they have to be 1 syllable though, because you see, for example, interessant, it has that A. I mean, you could technically put an umlaut there, but it doesn't work. You don't do that. The word has to be 1 syllable for this umlaut to appear. Yeah. And then we have adjectives that end in EL or ER, drop the E near the end, just sort of gets swallowed. So teuer, imagine, so this means expensive, and it ends in an ER already. So imagine if you add the ER after to make the comparative, it would be ER, and it just sort of gets swallowed. So the E right there has disappeared. Toy, it would be right there, but then you're adding this ER, so that one disappears. It's this E that's now gone. So teurer, that one disappears. And then dunkel ends in EL, and then you add the ER there, and then it becomes dunkler. So that E has disappeared. So dark, darker, expensive, more expensive. And then some are irregular. Some English has irregular ones as well. So gut, besser, good, better. Gut, besser, good, better. Viel and mehr. So viel means a lot or much. And then mehr means more, like a larger amount. So they look very different, but it's like large amount, even larger amount, a lot, more a lot, or just more. Hoch, höher. Hoch means high or tall, like tall buildings or hoch. So tall, but not for tall people, those are groß. But for tall objects or high up objects, that's hoch. And then höher is then higher, and so you see the C disappears. You get your umlaut like you might expect, but the C disappears. That's what makes it irregular. And then gern, lieber. So gern is of course gladly, like I gladly do it, meaning I like to do it. And then lieber is actually the comparative of that, meaning I prefer to do it. I do it more gladly. So you could say ich spiele gern tennis. I like to play tennis. But then ich spiele lieber Fußball. I prefer to play soccer. And so lieber is just like the next level of gern, meaning you prefer it over something else. Gerne lieber. Okay, so let's look at some pairs of adjectives and comparative forms of those same adjectives. So neu becomes neuer. Alt becomes älter. We've added the umlaut and the ER. Jung becomes junger. We've added the umlaut and the ER. You can't, it's a very subtle vowel change because the short U and Ü are the short versions of those vowels are pretty difficult to hear. So jung, junger, and then interessant, interessanter. I am emphasizing that R, so you can hear it, but it's more like interessanter. Yeah. Langweilig, which is boring. Langweiliger, more boring. Boringer. Stark becomes stärker. Stark means strong. Strong, stronger. Add an umlaut and an ER. Groß becomes größer. We got the umlaut plus the ER. And then kurz, kürzer. Short, shorter. Gut becomes besser, irregular. Hoch becomes höher, irregular. And then schwer means heavy or difficult. So it becomes schwerer, more heavier or more difficult. And there's a slight, it does end in an ER. And we were just looking at the ones where they drop the E near the end if ends in ER or EL. But this only works if the word is more than one syllable. Because so schwer is only one syllable. So imagine if you drop that R, you add the ER to the end and then you drop this, it would be like schwer, like you'd have the R right next to it. You can't lose a syllable. Like, because if you only have one syllable to begin with, you can't lose a syllable. But if you have two syllables, you can sacrifice one syllable. So that's a little caveat to that rule. So schwer, difficult or heavy. Schwerer, more difficult or heavier. Okay. So, and then when you've got your comparative form, you need to add als if you want to say than. So, schnell, schneller. Ein Ferrari ist schneller als ein Fahrrad. A Ferrari is faster than a bicycle. So, als means different things depending on the context, but if it's after comparative, it means than. A Ferrari is faster than a bicycle. Ein Ferrari ist schneller als. Warm to wärmer. Heute ist es wärmer als gestern. Today it is warmer than yesterday. Als. Groß becomes größer. Michael Keaton ist größer als Danny DeVito. So we've got our comparative form plus als, which means Michael Keaton is taller than Danny DeVito. Als. Lang becomes länger, and then we're going to add the als to mean than. Der neue Dumbo-Film ist länger als der alte Dumbo-Film. The new Dumbo-Film is longer than the old Dumbo-Film. Okay, so let's look at how to say things are equal. So if you want to say two things are equal, you say so plus the adjective and wie. So you could say so gut wie, meaning as good as. So that's quite I think it's a little interesting here because we have eyes. Eyes kind of looks like as, right? So it's related, it's in the same realm, but it really needs to be translated as than. But then we have this situation where we're trying to say as good as, and we're not using eyes at all. We're using so and wie. So that can be a little tricky because as looks like as. But in English, as good as is so gut wie, as good as. So notice that we're just using the regular adjective here. We're not using the comparative form, right? It's not so besser wie, it's so gut wie, just the regular form of the adjective. Just like in English, as good as, we're not saying as better as. It's just as good as, normal adjective, so gut wie. So we have Star Wars ist 120 Minuten lang. Jaws ist auch 120 Minuten lang. Star Wars ist so lang wie Jaws. So Star Wars is 120 minutes long. Jaws is also 120 minutes long. Star Wars is as long as Jaws. So lang wie. So it's like saying so long like. Wie means like in a lot of contexts. So it's like so long, similar to. so long like. So in a similar way, it is as long. Yeah. So lang wie. So whatever adjective in the middle there. And we have Psychologie ist interessant. Linguistik ist auch interessant. Psychologie ist so interessant wie Linguistik. Psychology is interesting. Linguistics is also interesting. Psychology is as interesting as linguistics. So interessant wie. Yeah. Okay, so now we have some more of these in the chart. So when we say positive, we mean normal adjective, just the standard form of the adjective, lang. And then when we say comparative, that means an ER ending. And then you see we've got our umlaut added there, and then the ER in all cases. Umlaut sometimes, ER always. And then we're going to go into the superlative after that, which means the longest, the fastest, the hottest, all of the most. So it's like normal, more, most, superlative. So we have the comparative we just did. You add the ER, and then you might expect, it sounds a little weird to say interestinger. You have to say more interesting in English, but you just don't worry about the number of syllables in German. And then you add umlaut to one-syllable words most of the time. Viel and mehr. Okay, so let's look at some superlatives. Das ist die Maus. Die Maus. Das ist der Elefant. Der Elefant. Das ist der Wal. Der Wal. Okay. Der Elefant ist größer als die Maus. The elephant is larger than the mouse. Größer, comparative. Der Wal ist größer als der Elefant. The whale is larger than the elephant. Larger than, größer als. Die Maus ist kleiner als der Elefant. The mouse is smaller than the elephant. Kleiner als. These are all comparatives. Then we get to the superlatives. Der Wal ist am größten. The whale is the largest. So the reason I have 3 here is because to say the superlative, you need at least 3 things to compare. If you're only comparing 2 things, it's still the comparative. But if you have 3 or more things, then you need to use the superlative. So, der Wal ist am größten. In the context of comparing these 3 animals, the whale is the largest. Der Wal ist am größten. That's how we form this superlative right here. And we can say, die Maus ist am kleinsten. The mouse is the smallest. So you see, am kleinsten, in English we add the est ending to make the superlative. And in German it's st, and sometimes this ending changes, but it's ste is the base form for the superlative. And we have est, ste. So they're the same letters, just rearranged a little bit, but you can see how we have, it's the same form, just evolved in different directions with different languages, but am kleinsten, ste, and then smallest, est. Okay, so comparative and superlative. There are a couple of different ways to use the superlative. When it occurs alone and not immediately before its noun, you use plus the adjective plus the suffix sten. So, am schnellsten would mean the fastest. So I'm not saying the fastest something else, I'm just saying it's the fastest. It's implied, we don't need to worry about what the noun is. Am schnellsten, the fastest. So that's what I did here with die Maus ist am kleinsten. We already established what our choices are, and I'm just saying the mouse is the smallest. Am kleinsten. So that's the way to do it that way. But then, yeah, am langweiligsten, the most boring. So for example, we can say, Maria spricht schnell, Anna spricht schneller, und Tina spricht am schnellsten, which means Maria speaks quickly or fast. Anna speaks more quickly, faster, and Tina speaks the most quickly or the fastest. Am schnellsten, the fastest. So if the adjective ends in a D, T, or S sound or vowel, then you add an extra E before that sten. So am plus the adjective plus esten. Am heißesten, because the normally it would just be the sten or the ste that you're adding, and we already are ending in an S sound, heiß. So you wouldn't be able to hear the difference if you just added so 2 S's right here, SS. The S set is 2 S's. and then you added another S, it just, you wouldn't hear that suffix being added, right? So the hottest, am heißesten, we add ESTEN instead of just STEN. And then am interessantesten, ends in a D or T. So we're gonna, just to break up those sounds, we're gonna add an E there. Am interessantesten, the most interesting. Am neuesten, so if it ends in a vowel, we're also gonna do that, the est, instead of just the ST ending. The newest, am neuesten. Juni ist heiß, Juli ist heißer, comparative, und August ist am heißesten. June is hot, July is hotter, and August is the hottest, am heißesten. So just as with the comparative, most one-syllable adjectives that can phonetically take an umlaut, they do so in the superlative. So am ältesten would be the oldest, and then normally it's alt, but then am ältesten got the umlaut. Am jüngsten, of course, comes from jung with no umlaut, but then we change it the same way as we would in this comparative. Am kältesten comes from kalt, kalt, am kältesten. Am wärmsten, we're also going to take that umlaut change. Here's an example for this one. Die drei Töchter in Full House heißen DJ, Stephanie und Michelle. Michelle ist am jüngsten. The three daughters in Full House are named DJ, Stephanie, and Michelle. Michelle is the youngest. Am jüngsten. She is the youngest. Okay, so some irregular forms as well. We can list out the regular adjective plus the comparative plus the superlative form. So gut, besser, am besten, good, better, the best. Viel, mehr, am meisten, which is like a lot, more, and the most. So a large amount, a larger amount, more, and the most, the largest amount. Groß, größer, am größten, large, larger, the largest, or in some contexts, great, greater, the greatest. Gern, lieber, am liebsten, so I like to do it, I prefer to do it, and I prefer it out of everything. It's my favorite. Yeah. Hoch, höher, am höchsten, high or tall, higher, the highest, am höchsten. Nah, näher, am nächsten. So nah means near, and then näher means nearer or closer, and then am nächsten means the closest or the nearest. But this also means next, like das nächste, the next thing, which is, you can see how that's related where, what is the next, like the next day, der nächste Tag, the next day. What is the next day? It's the closest day. It's the day that is closest to us, right? So das nächste is the next, and you can change, the article to whatever gender, whatever it is. But then, so you notice that the nearest, am nächsten, is the same as saying the next thing. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at some of these. We have neu for a regular adjective, neuer for the comparative, and then am neuesten for the superlative. We have alt becomes älter, we get that umlaut, and superlative am ältesten, the oldest. Jung becomes junger, am jüngsten, so the STEN ending, STEN. Interessant becomes interessanter, and then superlative am interessantesten. Langweilig becomes langweiliger, and then am langweiligsten. Stark becomes stärker, strong, stronger, am stärksten, the strongest. Groß, größer, am größten, large, larger, the largest. Great, greater, the greatest. Kurz, short, so kürzer, shorter, am kürzesten, the shortest. It ends in an S sound, so we're going to add the EST. This am größten is actually slightly irregular because normally when it ends in that S sound, we would do this with the extra E right there, but you don't. So this actually makes it irregular because it doesn't follow that rule. Gut, besser, am besten. So good, better, the best. Am besten looks just like English best. Viel, mehr, am meisten, a lot, more, the most. Teuer, expensive. Teurer, more expensive. Am teuersten, the most expensive. Gern, lieber, am liebsten. Gladly, more gladly, most gladly, or in context and in better translation, I like to do it, I prefer to do it, I prefer it over everything. Okay, so Komparativ und Superlativ. So now we have a few more examples to show how this works. Südkorea ist groß. That's just a normal adjective. South Korea is large. Italien ist größer. Italy is larger. Now we've got that ending, er. So that's a normal comparative. Large, larger. Groß, größer. Then we have Brasilien ist am größten. Brazil is the largest of all these three. Yeah. Engländer sind redselig. English people are talkative, redselig. Amerikaner sind redseliger, with the er, more talkative. In English we have to switch to the more construction, but then er here. And then Italiener sind am redseligsten. Italians are the most talkative. So the superlative in there. Okay, so now we're going to learn one more way to do the superlative, because sometimes you want to use it in a slightly different way. So we have these examples from the last slide. Südkorea ist groß, Italien ist größer, Brasilien ist am größten, the largest. So when we say am größten, it's just the largest, and you can't put a noun after that. It's just how you say it in that structure. But then sometimes you want to say the largest country, right? So in that case, you have to say whatever the gender is of the noun you're using. Das Land is neuter, so we're going to say das. And then we have this ending here, das größte Land, the largest country, das größte Land. So you can see how they're basically the same, but the ending is going to change. When precedes it, it's always going to have that S-T-E-N ending. The N is going to be there. But when we have like the noun comes after it, and if we've got an article here, then this ending needs to match whatever adjective ending would happen in that situation. So we have article plus größt, which the st, and then whatever adjective ending we need, because it would be, for example, das große Land. It would be the e there, right? So we've taken the e ending that we would normally have as an adjective ending there, and then we've added it to this can't happen on its own. It has to have an ending, right? And then the noun. So if you don't want to use the noun, like this one, we don't want to use the noun, then we use this am and sten construction, am größten. But if you do want to use the noun right after it, if the noun follows, then you use article plus a superlative, article plus a superlative, plus the adjective ending, and then the noun, meaning das größte Land. So it's important to see the difference between those two. Yeah. So we have the st endings characteristic of superlatives, like we were just seeing. And then also, if they have a stem vowel, a or u, they'll take that umlaut, the same way that the comparative does. And then if it ends in these sounds, then you take the est instead of just the st. And then this is a little bit of a tricky part, because you can have a comparative or superlative ending plus the adjective ending, and then it looks like there's several endings going on, and you have to be able to tell which ending is doing what in order to get a good translation out of it. So you can say, John F. Kennedy war der ältere Bruder von Robert F. Kennedy. So der, the, älter, the older brother, and of course, because it's an adjective and it needs an ending, so der ältere, this is our masculine with a definite article and nominative ending right there. So you can compare it to der alte Bruder would be the old brother, and then der ältere Bruder, the older brother. So just that E would always be there on any adjective. It doesn't matter whether it's comparative or not. And then Robert F. Kennedy war ein jüngerer Bruder des Präsidenten. Now what's happening here is we are saying a younger brother, and this ER, that first ER, belongs to the comparative. It's happening because this is comparative, a younger brother. But this, the second ER, is happening because when you say ein, it's nominative masculine with the indefinite article. That's the adjective ending you need for that. You could say ein junger Bruder, which would be a young brother. It would have that ending even if it weren't comparative. So I have more examples of that in a moment. Hopefully that will become clear as we go along. Der jüngste Kennedy-Bruder heißt Edward. So the youngest. So it's the jüngst, and then like it ends here with the dash because you have to add something. And so that's the adjective ending you would need there. Der jüngste Kennedy-Bruder heißt Edward. Von den Kennedy-Brüdern war Joseph am ältesten. So this is the construction that we were looking at earlier. So of the Kennedy brothers, Joseph was the oldest. Yeah. So sten construction. It's we don't say there's no construction in English that exactly mirrors it, but you just say the eldest or the oldest. So you can also use it as an adverb. Die am wenigsten zahlreichen Länder, the least numerous nations. Yeah, so that will happen as well. So of course it lists some umlaut situations. So normal, meaning poor, and then comparative, ärmer, and then superlative. There's two different ways to do it. We were just seeing. So der, die, or das ärmste, and you would choose that based on whatever noun is coming after, or with no noun coming after it, am ärmsten, the poorest. Healthy is gesund, and then gesünder. This breaks the rule that it's one syllable, so there's exceptions. It's two syllables, but it's still going to get that umlaut. Der, die, das gesündeste, am gesündesten. So the healthier, or so healthier here, and then the healthiest something, or just the healthiest. Kalt, kälter, der, die, das kälteste, am kältesten. Krank, kränker, really changes the sound of that, right? Krank, kränker. Das kränkste, am kränksten. Oft, öfter, am öftesten. So the most often, am öftesten. It doesn't list the der, die, das öfteste. Yeah, the most often something. Yeah, you wouldn't really. You would use a different word, right? Häufig is probably what das häufigste something, like the most common case, der häufigste Fall, I would say. So often doesn't really work that way. Sharp is scharf, also means spicy food, scharf. Schärfer, more sharper or spicier. Und das schärfste, am schärfsten. Yeah, the sharpest. The sharpest something, or then just the sharpest. Weak is schwach, becomes schwächer. Das Schwächste, am schwächsten. Black is schwarz, schwärzer, gets the umlaut. And then das schwärzeste, so see it how it ends in an S type sound. So we add the E-S-T, and then am schwärzesten, the blackest. Strong, stärker, stark stärker, das stärkste, am stärksten. Okay, then we have some irregulars. We were looking at these irregulars already, but we have a nice little chart. Gut, besser, am besten, or if you want the noun following, der beste, die beste, das beste. So you'd say like, der beste Film heißt Star Wars. High is hoch, but then we get like this change going on. So höher, das höchste, yeah, das höchste Gebäude, the tallest building. Yeah. Nah is near, and then näher, das nächste. Yeah, viel mehr, das meiste, am meisten, the most, and then viele would mean like many things, more things that you count from 1, 2, 3, right, as opposed to blobs of things, and then mehr, am meisten, yeah. Okay, so gern, lieber, am liebsten. We've mentioned gern several times before, but it's good to look at gern in a few more example sentences. So, studiert gern Literatur. He likes to study literature. It literally means he studies gladly literature. So he does it gladly means he likes to do it. Ich studiere lieber Geschichte. I prefer to study history. So I study preferably history. So lieber is then like better than gern. But then you have unser Professor unterrichtet am liebsten Literaturgeschichte. Our professor likes teaching history best. He likes it best. He prefers it most, you could also say, am liebsten. So, gern can only modify a verb, but one way you can say you like a noun, we had mag already. Ich mag Kuchen. I like cake. But another way to say that is gern with haben, to like a person or a thing. So der Patient hat Medizin nicht gern is the patient doesn't like the medicine. So it's basically the patient doesn't gladly have the medicine. So it just means doesn't like. And then diese neue Medizin hat lieber als die alte. He likes the new medicine better than the old one, as in he prefers it. Lieber meaning can be translated as prefer as a verb. So this new medicine has he preferably than the old one. Sounds horrible, but you get the idea. He has it preferably, as in he prefers it. It's another way to say it. So we have adjectives or adverbs ending in er. This is how you can recognize different situations. So the er isn't always comparative, like we were talking about. There's different situations where the er can happen, and you'll need to be able to tell which is which in order to get the right translation. So sometimes a word just ends in er, and that's just the word. So schwer, meaning difficult, that's the word schwer. And if you want to make it comparative, you got to add stuff to the end of the er. And then die Medizin ist ungeheuer teuer. So ungeheuer is an adverb here, adjective or adverb, and it ends. Ungeheuer is the whole word, and that's just how it ends, tremendously or enormously. And then teuer is a word meaning expensive. That's just the end of the word. And then, when you make a comparative, we want to add the er. So neu becomes neuer, alt becomes älter. Comparatives, er endings. And then adjective endings are often, there's a lot of adjective endings that are also er. So ein alter Mann, an old man. So this is what we got, masculine nominative after an ein word, an indefinite article. Ein alter Mann, that's the adjective ending. And then masculine nominative with no article, also the same ending we got there. Feminine dative no article has that ending as well. Von guter Qualität, of good quality, dative, feminine. Feminine genitive with no article has that. Der Preis effektiver Medizin, the price of effective medicine, genitive, the of, and then no article. And then plural genitive, no article, same thing, it matches the feminine. Die Resultate effektiver Methoden, the results of effective methods. So you can compare these to your adjective ending chart that you have, and you'll see er pops up in a few places. So you need to ask yourself what the er is doing. It could be a number of things. So we have, for example, diese Methode ist schneller. That's a comparative. Schnell is the normal adjective. Schneller with er, comparative. But then we have ein schneller Dampfer. Dampfer is a steamboat. Dampf is steam, so it's like a steamship. And so we have schnell is the normal adjective, and then the reason this er is here is because it's an adjective ending, not because it's comparative. And then die schnellere Methode, the faster method. Now we have a comparative, schneller, and then it's feminine, so that's the ending, just the e ending. Comparative ending plus an adjective ending. And then dieser Generator ist einfacher gebaut. Einfach means simple. In this case, it's an adverb. This generator is built simply, in a simple way. So in a more simple way, actually, it's an adverb, and then it's comparative too. So this generator is built more simply, in a simpler way. And then ein schwerer Hammer, schwer is the word, plus the adjective ending for masculine nominative and ein word, a heavy hammer, ein schwerer Hammer. But what if we wanted to say comparative as well? We need ein schwererer Hammer. It looks like it's a joke, but it's real. Ein schwererer Hammer, because schwer is the word heavy, and then this is added because it's comparative now. And then this is the same one we were adding because it's that's the adjective ending. So end of the word, comparative ending, adjective ending. Der Hammer ist schwer. The hammer is heavy. Now we don't have any ending, doesn't need one. Eine sich schneller entwickelnde Situation. So a situation that is developing more quickly. A more quickly developing situation. Yeah, so schneller in this case is more quickly or faster. Das Problem, höhere Preise. So now we're in the genitive. It's this, we had the genitive, the results of effective methods. This one is the problem of higher prices. Preise is in the plural, and we can actually only tell it's in the genitive because of this ending here. So höher is already the comparative form, higher, and then this is indicating a plural genitive ending. So since there's no article, it's kind of hard to see that it's in the genitive, but it's really only that adjective ending that's telling you need to put an of in the translation. So it gets pretty complicated, but hopefully with more examples it will become clearer. I have some comparisons of films that I think are better than others. So A Bug's Life ist kein großer Film, which means A Bug's Life is not a great film. So we have this ER ending is masculine adjective ending for an indefinite article. Not a, kein, and then not a great film, kein großer Film. The reason we need this ER is because it's masculine, nominative with an indefinite article. What about Wreck-It Ralph ist ein großer Film, which means Wreck-It Ralph is a great film. It's still a normal adjective, we're not comparative yet. So it is a, and then groß, and then when it's not comparative, it's just a normal adjective, but the reason we have this ER is because it's an adjective ending for a masculine indefinite article. It's nominative as well. So, Frozen ist ein viel größerer Film. Frozen is a much greater film. So this ER ending that we had it on these as well. It's the same thing because we're still masculine. Everything else is the same. So we're still going to have that adjective ending. But we also want to be comparative now. We want to say greater, a much greater film, viel größere Film. So we end up having this comparative ending plus the masculine adjective ending. That's why it's größerer. And then we can have Krieg der Sterne, that's a translation of Star Wars. Krieg der Sterne ist der größte Film. Now we're just doing a superlative, the greatest film, der größte Film. We do have an adjective ending on there. We'll do some more with more complicated superlatives in a moment, but just for now to show you that one. So yeah, this is the superlative, and we can look at more superlatives. So normal adjectives, we want to do comparatives with das schöne Bild, just to see how these endings stay the same. Normal adjective, das schöne Bild, but then we add the comparative ending here in blue, and we're still going to have that adjective ending we had, whether it's comparative or not. Das schöne Bild, the beautiful picture. Das schönere Bild, the more beautiful picture. Yeah, the beautiful picture, just normal beautiful. But then the more beautiful, schöner, that's the ending for comparative, and then that second ending is actually for the adjective, and it's right there as well. Und der lange Film is the long film, der lange Film, and then der längere Film is then we've changed lang into a comparative that involved putting the umlaut on and then also the ER comparative ending. But we also need our adjective ending, which we had whether it's comparative or not. Der längere Film. So, ein schönes Bild, that's the adjective ending you need for the ein and the neuter, which is a beautiful picture. And then ein schöneres Bild, a more beautiful picture. We've changed our adjective into comparative with the ER, and then we still need that same adjective ending as you had over here. Ein schöneres Bild, a more beautiful picture. Ein langer Film, which is a long film, and then ein längerer Film, meaning comparative, plus the adjective ending we would need otherwise. So then we have some superlatives. So we have the same one from before, das schöne Bild, but now we're going to add the superlative ending instead, which is the ST, plus whatever other adjective ending we need to have. So das schönste Bild, the most beautiful picture. So you see das schöne Bild and das schönste Bild, It doesn't matter whether it's normal, positive adjective, or superlative adjective, it's going to be those same endings. But we just add the st here. Der lange Film becomes der längste Film. So that's the superlative form. In a chart, it would have like a dash after the st because you have to have something there. And then whatever the adjective ending is, the longest film, der längste Film. And then we can do some indefinite articles. Ein schönes Bild, a beautiful picture. And then mein schönstes Bild, we can do the same thing with the possessives. My most beautiful picture, mein schönstes Bild. Or the long film, ein langer Film. And then to show that you can do the possessives, take all the same endings as the indefinite articles. They work like indefinite articles. So, mein längster Film, my longest film. So, of course, this can be tricky because the st or est endings happen on verbs when it's for du. Du spielst am besten, you play the best. So this st is very different because it's just a verb ending. It's a verb conjugation. It doesn't have anything to do with adjectives. And then auch als kleinstes Kind spieltest du am liebsten basketball. They put in as many as they could. So even as the smallest child, kleinstes Kind, spieltest du, you played. That's just a normal, it's simple past, but it's still got that ending for du. Am liebsten, the most, yeah. So just watch out for those. That's why you have to know whether you're looking at an adjective or a verb. Yeah, so now we got the exercises for the end of this unit. We have some questions and sentences that have superlatives, comparatives, and superlatives in there. So just be careful and watch the endings. And then we have some more comparatives and superlatives. These ones have some irregular ones in there as well. And that's all for this unit. So viel Spaß, have a lot of fun with these exercises, and I will see you in the next video. Bis bald. Tschüss.